British Ambassador, Excellency Alastair Long, thank you so much for joining us today for this interview. 2 years into your tenure, how would you say the relationship between Britain and Bahrain is currently progressing?
The relationship's still in a fabulous place. We had a brilliant autumn of engagement, starting with His Royal Highness the Crown Prince and Prime Minister visiting our Prime Minister at number 10 Downing Street. That was followed by a visit here of our Foreign Secretary. We then had the two kings come together for a fabulous dinner at Windsor Castle in November. The UK joined the US-Bahrain Security and Prosperity Agreement, CCPA, at the Manama Dialogue, and then we had the Duke of Edinburgh visit for Bahrain National Day. So an incredible sequence of high-level engagements over that period. One other crowning achievement, I suppose, of the relationship in that moment was McLaren winning the Constructors' Championship, which I also like to claim as a British Bahraini endeavour.
What would you say are your personal and professional achievements that you are most proud of in the past year?
So I'm really proud of our having joined this really important agreement to date between the US and Bahrain, but now with the UK in it as well. It becomes a plurilateral agreement, an agreement among more than two states. And I think it's a visionary instrument created in large part by the Bahrainis, aimed at trying to bring together those who have a concern for the rules-based order and wanting to see in this region a peace and a security on that basis. And the UK cares deeply about that. And so for us to be invited, first of all, to join this by those two close partners, the US and Bahrain, is a great privilege. But then to be in it and to be able to shape it with them for that important cause is really vital. So that I think would be my top reflection on this last period.
So recently you've delivered numerous speeches on Bahrain's economic outlook. What would you say is your opinion on the latest budget released by Bahrain and also the UK's role in Bahrain's diversification strategy?
So I do see a real parallel between the UK and Bahraini economies. We're both service-orientated economies that are coming to the end of hydrocarbon production, that are looking to go net zero, that are trying to embrace digital and future industries, and in many ways trying to reinvent ourselves, something that we've done many times throughout history. And you see that in Bahrain. I mean, they've had remarkable success diversifying their economy. The largest contributor now to their economy is financial services. Again, roughly a percentage share equal to that we see in the UK. And they're embracing digital industries. They've got incredible Bahraini talent behind that. And so I think the future looks very positive for Bahrain. Of course, the GCC is absolutely flying as a region, and the growth expected in this region is huge. It's going to sort of double by 2050. And so with that rising tide, Bahrain, I think, has an incredibly bright future ahead of it. For the UK, I think at the moment people will look at the UK and think that we now have a period of political stability where we'd had some upheaval, and that the new government has set out a really clear plan to focus on the UK's economic growth, to really try, just as Bahrain is doing, to invest in the future industries, the future jobs, and the talent pipeline that we need for that. And I think the other story coming out of our government at the moment is about trying to be a broker on the international stage for agreement among nations about how we manage trade, economy, and those sorts of questions. And our Prime Minister is really leading from the front on them.
How are British businesses responding to opportunities in Bahrain, and what sectors do you think are most promising for future opportunities?
I will just, if you don't mind, reflect on the free trade agreement. Only to say that, I mean, a number of times now I've said it's very close, and it is, and it's getting closer. and I do expect that we will, I've always expected that we will agree something, and I expect that to happen fairly soon. It is, I think, really important as a symbol of the UK's commitment to free trade and to trying to reduce in the world the barriers to free trade. And so I think when the UK and GCC do conclude that agreement, it will send a real signal to our businesses about the opportunity that exists here in the Gulf. That for many of them is not new. You see a growing number of UK businesses coming into Bahrain, coming into the region, and the trajectory of that is really positive. It's growing all the while, and we're going to do much more in the next short period to encourage that. And I really want to make that the focus of my efforts over the next period. I think the other thing to say about our trade is that there is a lot of investment opportunity. So that's not necessarily the buying and selling of goods and services. It's about each having a stake in each other's future economic success. And we're working on that quite hard. And that should really bring dividends for both economies. That sort of investment relationship holds the key to significant growth support for both economies, beyond just the transactions of normal trade.
So the air links between the UK and Bahrain have been boosted significantly recently. We had the situation with British Airways flying direct to Heathrow that has been resolved and it is back on track. And also at the start of April, Gulf Air launched its direct flight to Gatwick Airport. So we now have 3 direct links between Bahrain and the UK. What's your opinion on this, and how does it sort of complement the relationship between the two countries?
So the thing I'm most excited about at the moment with relation to airports and air travel is the new artwork that's been installed at Bahrain International Airport, Concordia by Sir Brian Clark. I think that piece of art at the Bahrain International Airport is absolutely stunning. And I was invited along to see it unveiled, and I hadn't a clue when I turned up that it was going to be quite so special. And when the screen dropped and we saw it, it really was gobsmacking. And so, and it's a thing of great pride to us that a UK artist has got a piece of work that significant and of that scale there in the middle of, and here I'm coming on to airports and aviation, in the middle of what I think is the world's best airport. I think Bahrain's airport is absolutely fabulous, and it deserves to have tons of footfall, tons of airlines bringing lots of people to this fabulous island through it. It is quite the most pleasant experience I've ever had in an airport. And there's some competition, of course, in this region, but I still mark Bahrain as the very best. And we're delighted that BA is still bringing passengers through that airport and will continue to do so. I put it down as a technical glitch, honestly. I don't think they had realised in taking decisions about the globe what the impacts would be in certain markets. And of course, on not looking at that level, they'd completely undervalued the depth of the history between their airline and Bahrain. We and the Bahrainis and others were very quick to point that out to them and to underline the implications of what they were suggesting. And I'm really pleased that the Bahrainis and BA at very senior levels were able to talk and resolve the issue. But again, I think it was a decision taken at a sort of global level, and once they looked into it, they realised it wasn't the right thing. It's brilliant to see Gulf Air flying into Gatwick, Manchester and Heathrow now. We're really very, very grateful to them for the confidence they show in the UK and in those travel routes.
Could you tell us a little bit about the role of the British community in Bahrain, and give us an estimate of how many British nationals currently residing in the kingdom?
I think there are two stories here. The number of British nationals has largely stayed stable post-COVID, so we're at about 5,000. Now, the community prior to COVID was a bit bigger than that, but I put the change not only down to COVID, but down to the pressures of globalization and the success of Bahraini talent moving into jobs here. And so I think it's a very natural thing, and it's a thing that we're very comfortable with. But I'm still delighted that we're by far the largest European expat community here. I still think those British people do a fabulous service in Bahrain to support this island's prosperity. The other story is the number of visitors coming here. So not residents, but people coming to see Bahrain, sometimes experience it for the first time, and very often coming back because they've had such a good experience of the place, which is very much what I know. You know, the Bahrainis are so welcoming, so friendly. The things to do here are so easy to access and to enjoy. And so I expect that as the word spreads, more and more people to come here on all of those new air routes that we talked about.
Finally, the last question I want to ask, as always, is what message do you have for the British community in Bahrain as the ambassador?
Thank you for everything you contribute to this relationship. I think the relationship, as I've always said, is one of two peoples, and every single Brit who resides or visits Bahrain is an ambassador for our relationship, and they all do fabulous things to support that and to maintain what I feel is a really positive view of the UK and of the British here in Bahrain, and that will remain the most important thing, that we can have that sense of our country and our people here maintained in that way. So I really thank them for that.
Your Excellency, thank you once again so much for donating your time to Bahrain this month for this interview. We really appreciate it, and I look forward to interviewing you again next year.